Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode, drumroll please, 120 of the 815 exchange. And my, it is World Cup season. So we got that. Currently, as I am recording this, I believe it is like the 86th minute. England is butchering Iran right now. So, yeah, maybe it's coming home. Maybe it's not. But it is World Cup season. It's also getting late into the college football season. We've had a lot of interesting developments over the weekend. I'm going to be completely honest. Also, if you follow me on my social medias, which everything you are looking for in this life can be found in the description along with all my social media links and timestamps, because, long form content, I get it. I provide it for you guys if there's a certain, topic you want to hear me talk about the latest episode of Chainsaw Man, so you want to go to entertainment, you want to skip ahead through the intro, and you want to go straight to college football, or you want to hear me talk about the week in the NFL, whatever it is, feel free to skip ahead. Timestamps are in the description. But like I was saying, I had a legendary weekend. It was a very, very, very good weekend, if I say so myself. So yeah, can't complain. The life has been good, and hopefully this is a good 120th episode of the 815 exchange. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. Now let's get to that content, shall we? And of course, we're gonna start off with college football, and of course we gotta start off with one of the things contributing to this legendary weekend, as it was my very last home game as a Charlotte 49er. Yes, my last football home game. The vibes, the tailgate were pretty good, pretty immaculate. But, there wasn't a lot of hope. There wasn't a lot of hope going into this game versus Louisiana Tech. But, what do you know? Somehow, some way, from the depths of wherever we were, Charlotte football made an appearance at Jerry Richardson Stadium for the first time in, I believe, almost 2 years. Okay, we won. All right, we won. The home team won. Okay, I don't know how, I don't know why, it happened. I don't know if it's because it was senior day and it was the last one, but you know what? We won. No complaints. It was a running backs duel in this game. My boy Camp with 111 and 3 touchdowns. Crosby with 105 and a hat trick also for Louisiana Tech. Mr. Thompson, let's talk about it. Was, incredible. The tight end play, I have to give a shout out to the tight ends, especially for us. Thompson, just immaculate. The one-handed reception was a game changer. 2 picks as well for the defense. It was the most complete game I've seen us play in a very, very, very long time, at the very least at home. And yeah, defense showed up, didn't look as, terrible as usual. I know we were playing La Tech, but we are Charlotte. We haven't been too much to talk about either. So, yeah, I'm just happy. Walked us off, ended it on a good note. So, yeah, hopefully it's a sign of brighter things for the future. We get this back on track and get back to, that trending upwards into, potentially a sleeping giant of a program that it looked like we were headed my freshman year 4 years ago. So, yeah, hopefully we're back on track. But it was good to get the win, last home game. Man walked off happy. Now, for the national schedule and for the top 5, it wasn't a very happy weekend. It was a very stressful weekend. A very, very stressful weekend. So let's start off with Michigan, all right? Go Big Blue. Ahead of the big game next week. And it's the biggest of the big game. Versus Ohio State with, Big Noon and College Game Day surely going to be in attendance. Was Michigan going to choke away their season 1 week before the Ohio State game? They nearly did, but luckily they have Jake Moody, who might be the best kicker in college football. He went 4 for 4 and had the game winner in this game against the Illinois Fighting Illini, who has such an up-and-down weekend in all sports. But Michigan survives 19-7. Blake Corum needs to be going to New York. I'm not saying he needs to be a Giant or a Jet, but the man needs to be going to New York for the Heisman finalist ceremony. Because my, he is, in my opinion, the second best running back in the country. course, number 1 belongs to number 5 from Texas, and we'll talk about him a little bit later. But Blake Corum is the absolute truth. And then you could see the impact when he got injured, which luckily it seems like he's fine, which of course I want both Michigan and Ohio State as close to full blast so we can get a fair matchup there. But yeah, Corum had to leave this game 108 and 1 touchdown, pretty much all in the first half. Luckily, looks like he's going to be okay, but Michigan was a little bit lost without him. They looked a little bit lost without him. Also got to give a shout out to Chase Brown for Illinois. 140 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. He has been fantastic this year. I think he's top 5 in the country in rushing, 16 touchdowns. He's been a monster, been carrying that Illini offense. So yeah, shout out to him. Michigan survives. Oh boy, TCU, I mean, just had to make it as dramatic as possible. Down 2 scores with less than 3 minutes to go, and somehow, some way, Baylor pulled a Baylor. You know, in North Carolina, we call it pulling an NC State. In Texas, they call it pulling a Baylor, because Baylor do what they do best, and they choked. They snatched defeat from the jaws of victory and gave the win to the Horned Frogs, who somehow, some way, thanks to Max Dugan just coming alive that last, 3 minutes. Max, by the way, Mad Max, 377, 2 touchdowns for him. Williams with 112. Baldwin with 6 and 123, I believe. Both of those for Baylor. But Kell with the game winner. By the way, the best execution I've seen with that little time of a field goal. They had that team, shout out to the special teams coordinator, because he had them boys ready. They trotted right out there, no time to waste, got right into position. The kicker didn't even really lose stride in terms of getting on the field to kicking a field goal, and it wasn't like he was ashamed, didn't feel forced. Natural, right to the uprights. TCU survives and lives to fight another day. They remain undefeated and beat the Baylor Bears. Georgia, the number 1 team in the land, took on a Kentucky team who I have slandered consistently throughout the season, but you know what? Their defense did a hell of a job because Georgia struggled throughout this game. Besides Kenny McIntosh. Kenny McIntosh ended up with 143 and a touchdown, played the game of his life. For Kentucky, all right, Will Levis, you know, you're going to get a 16-6, by the way. Georgia survives also, 16-6. Once again, for, I don't know, pretty much past month, since I started seeing him at the top of draft boards, I would once again want anybody, just anybody out there, please explain to me why Will Levis is a first rounder. Just anybody. It doesn't even matter if you're credentialed at this point. Just tell me why in the hell Will Levis should be a first rounder. I don't see it. I just do not see it. I don't know if it's because I'm going blind. Maybe I need new contacts, but he is just not that guy. He's just not that guy. Will Levis is just not that guy. However, Barry Brown, the freshman receiver for Kentucky, was that guy. 10 receptions, 145, and a touchdown. But like we said quite a bit, why I say quite a bit on the show, it was just not enough. Georgia survived. Shout out to the defense for that one. Ohio State, of course. Ohio State. Another person. Just, you know what? I feel like I say this every week about C.J. Stroud. He's a great player. He's a very good player. I'm not sure if I can call him a great player. He's a very good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. But Ohio State does enough to win thanks to the freshman running back Dalen Hayden. 146 and 3 touchdowns, the hat trick for Hayden. He played easily the best game of his young career and played the game of his life. He saved Ohio State from defeat in this game. Straight up. Saved them. Because Talia, Maryland were cooking that Ohio State defense. Now, it seemed much improved. But, yeah, it wasn't much improved on this night. They had their struggles with that Maryland offense. However, I do have to say on that defensive side of the ball, Zach Harrison, finally, looking like the 5-star next, silver bullet that he was supposed to be and hyped to be. He finally looked the part in this game. 2 sacks for him. Like I said, Talia balled out. 293, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown for him. But Dalen Hayden, simply put, he won the game for him. Of course, Marv did something ridiculous, right? Made CJ look fantastic. But Dalen Hayden won this game for Ohio State. They survive in advance, and of course, they got a very, very big game of Michigan, which I would still favor them in. Nonetheless, Ohio State, despite their struggles. This week, Maryland is a good team, but they also survive. Let's talk about a team that did not survive. Georgia Tech takes down UNC 21-17. Keon White, one of the best defensive performances of the week. 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 4 TFLs. Simply put, they shut down Drake May. Now, everybody had been singing Drake's praises the past couple weeks. Firmly putting him in Heisman conversations. Is he number 1 in 2024? Drake May had been the toast of the town in college football for the past week. Georgia Tech heard all of that and said, you know what, I am really with that. Held him to 16 for 30, no touchdowns, and a pick. Completely shut down Drake May in what's easily been the best defensive performance against UNC this year. Because even in their loss, Drake May went ballistic. Georgia Tech somehow figured out the formula. They got it done. Once again, Keon White, one of the best defensive performances probably of the year, but definitely this week. And Georgia Tech takes down the Tar Heels. You know what? UNC wasn't top 5. So I did say top 5, didn't I? I did say top 5. So let's round out that top 5 with a team that was 5th. And they're no longer going to be 5th after tomorrow. But really after Saturday. But, South Carolina. Scar. The Gamecocks. 63-38. Yes. South Carolina dropped 60 on Tennessee. I mean, this game wasn't close from the jump. The worst. And, I always felt that the defense for Tennessee was their Achilles heel. But boy, oh my goodness. It was more than an arrow. It was more than a rock. I mean, it was like a sledgehammer to the Achilles. That defense was non-existent from the start. South Carolina made it look easy. We made Spencer Rattler look like Spencer Rattler was supposed to be. The man went 30 for 37, 438, and 6 total touchdowns in this game. One of the greatest games of Spencer Rattler's, if not the best game in his career. Wells goes 11 receptions, 177. Van and Bell get 2 touchdowns apiece. And that's just for South Carolina. I mean, they slaughtered Tennessee. They took their playoff chances out to the woods, and they put them down. They put Smokey down. It was bad. It was bad. And to make it worse, all right, Hendon goes 247, 3 touchdowns. I can't really put this loss on him because he was fighting for his life back there. But to make it worse, unfortunately, Hendon Hooker tears his ACL. Season and career at Tennessee done. I hate it. Obviously, my personal relation to Hendon and his family, but I also hate it for Tennessee. Literally the worst imaginable game. The worst imaginable result that could have happened this weekend for them happened. Tennessee's finished. Joe Milton didn't look bad, but Tennessee's done. Playoff chances are gone. I can't believe y'all let the Gamecocks put 63 on y'all. It's bad. It's also bad for Ole Miss right now. It's bad for Ole Miss right now. Arkansas put it on them, 42-27. KJ Jefferson was sublime, 217, 3 touchdowns. Rocket Sanders, 232 and 3 touchdowns for him. For Ole Miss, the positive thing is you ran for 463 yards. Now, most of this was in garbage time, but still, you ran for 463 yards. How did you lose the game? Well, you had no defense, and you couldn't stop KJ and Rocket. And if you don't stop KJ and Rocket against Arkansas, you can just kiss it goodbye because you're not going to win that game. Also, Drew Sanders had a pick in this game. But Judkins, 214 and a touchdown. Zach Evans was averaging 12 yards a carry, I believe. Went 207 and a touchdown. Malik Heath, 9 receptions, 140 and a touchdown. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Even with the offensive output for Ole Miss, just could not get it done defensively. Arkansas exploited them. KJ and Rocket looked like one of the best tandems in college football, which is what they are. And they showed up big time versus Ole Miss. Arkansas pulls off the upset. In the sicko game of the week, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And I don't mean Bedlam was sicko game of the week in the way it was a sick game. No, it was a game for you sick because it was just bad. All right. OU wins 28-13, which Oklahoma State, just always the little brother, you know. No matter how bad Oklahoma is, you just always manage to find a way to blow it. Always. With consistency. So, yeah, Oklahoma started this game, however, 28-0, and then just died. Just stopped. Just stopped. I don't know. It was pitiful. All right. Spencer Sanders threw 4 picks. Classic Spencer Sanders. This was it was garbage. All right, I'm not even going to eliminate on much of it anymore, just for your sake, watching at home. It was not a good game. Okay, Oklahoma jumped out and then disappeared, and Oklahoma State tried to come back, but just couldn't stop shooting, so it was bad. All right, sicko game of the week, Bedlam, congrats on you. USC and UCLA. Now something I actually want to talk about. It's okay. Even though we made this as stressful as possible for me, and I was nervous about even winning this game. How about that? Fight the on, because USC takes back the victory bell, 48-45. Caleb Williams should be the Heisman favorite, and this is not really up for debate, in my opinion. 503 yards, 3 touchdowns, and you throw an interception. But that's 3 touchdowns and a pick, because he also had a rushing touchdown. But anyways, Caleb went off. All right, most total yards by one player in the history of USC UCLA. Need I say any more? He's him. The throws he were making in this game, he's him. Him or Fredette, him and Neutron, whatever you want to call him, he is Caleb Williams, he is Superman, he's our Clark Kent, and he should be the Heisman favorite. There is no player more valuable to a team than Caleb Williams is to this USC team. Now, Austin Jones filling in for Trav Dye. He showed up as he showed up pretty much all season. 120 and 2 touchdowns for Austin. Jordan Addison is back, baby. 11 receptions, 178, and a touchdown for the reigning defending Biletnikoff winner. Probably won't win it this year because of the injuries, but best believe that he is still one of the best receivers in America. Kyle Ford also balled out. Balled out in this game. So shout out to Kyle. Looked like the player he was supposed to be. Finally getting over those injuries. He was that big body weapon that we needed. DTR played his heart out, okay? I got to give respect where respect is due. DTR played his heart out. 390, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The last of which was the most costly to Corey Foreman. And, that ended up being the game-sealing interception. Though also for UCLA, Ezekele, a hat trick, but like I said, the turnovers and just USC's offense could not be stopped. Classic. That has been the summary. If I could say one sentence that summarizes our season, offense was probably unstoppable, and we caused some turnovers when it mattered, and that's how we won. And I know that I'm just happy. All right, we're going to the Pac-12 championship. We might not even survive Notre Dame next week, but you know what? We beat UCLA. I'll take it. We weren't supposed to be this good already, so I'm just in bliss. USC, 5-1. We took out UCLA. We won LA. Oregon takes out Utah in the other basically Pac-12 semifinal to clinch their berth to the Pac-12 championship. They won 20-17. Bennett Williams, my goodness. 14 tackles, 2 picks. One of the best defensive performances from a defensive back that you will see all year, in my opinion. Cam Rising was garbage, 3 picks. It was just misery. Utah down bad. Oregon doing a little bit better. Bo Nix played pretty well, even though he had 1 leg. And to end off this segment, Navy upset UCF 17-14. NC State, I mentioned, them pulling some in. They did it again, all right? 25-10. Louisville takes them out. And then Bijan Robinson, the best running back in America, 243, 4 touchdowns against Kansas. Best running back in the draft is Bijan. All right, he carries Texas. That's what he does. Let's keep it in college, shall we? Yeah, let's keep it in college. College basketball, because I have plenty to talk about here. Because we're also going to include the ladies, because how about that, all right? It's college basketball, I don't specify. So we're throwing the ladies, all right? We're not throwing them in the roundup, we're throwing them in the main segment, because there was some interesting stuff that went down in women's college basketball. We'll start off with the men, though. Virginia might be back, all right? Virginia might be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to have a conversation, because Virginia might be back. All right, they were gone for a little bit, but I think they might be back. All right, 70-61, they take out Illinois. Greece, Beekman. 14 in this game, great defense. Can't ask for much more. They shut down T. Shanahan after he went off against UCLA on Friday. But my. Virginia is just, I mean, even though they didn't shoot well in this game in particular, but it's looking like they're much improved shooting from last year. They're playing this classic Virginia defense. I mean, they're looking very, very dangerous. We might need to have a conversation because the Cavs look like they are back. Speaking of UCLA, they took another loss this week because Baylor took them out 80-75. LJ Cryer and Adam Flack, I mean, woo! 28-22 for one of the best backcourts, I think, in America. Jalen Clark, 23 points and 10 rebounds, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Now, Amari Bailey, as much as I love him, just has not been. He's taking a little, it looks like he might take a little bit, or at least a little bit more than we thought he would, to kind of adjust to the college game. Because I think him emerging is going to be a big determinant. You know, the rest of the guys for UCLA, they've been around the block, they know the deal. But Bailey was supposed to be that key stud freshman for them. So seeing how he develops, I think, is going to be a long-term determinant in, you know, how good this UCLA team ends up actually being. But for now, Baylor, the vets, get it done. Like I said, Flagler, Cryer, 28-22, could not be stopped in this game. Baylor gets the win. Gonzaga takes out Kentucky in the big game of the week. 22-7 for Drew Timme. Feels like he's been here forever. But, you know, Drew doing Drew stuff. Classic. I mean, that's a classic Drew Timme stat line. Rasir Bolton, though, showed up and showed out versus UK. 24 points for Bolton. Also, IQ Watson was big time. 10-10 for him. Oscar Schwebe is going to get 20 and 15. It is a given. Best rebounder in the country. He's going to get those offensive rebounds that gets his those points. He's going to do that. It's what he is. He's going to get 20 and 15, the reigning National Player of the Year, unanimous National Player of the Year as well. Big O did his thing. But also, Cason Wallace, freshman guard who's been fantastic, looking like one of the best on-ball defenders in college basketball already out of the womb. 14 points and 4 steals for him. But Gonzaga is just operating on a different level than this Kentucky team right now. Once again, I'm not saying it's panic button. I think Kentucky looks okay, but they're going to go through some growing pains, as it seems that these Calipari teams have gone through quite a bit. And you know what? On the upside, you got DJ Wagner, I think, this past week. Anyway, your recruiting class is now #1 in the country. But then again, you've done this before and not had some good seasons in the recent memory. So I don't know, but Gonzaga gets it done. Also, Duke, we played Kansas. Grady Dick took us out. Speaking of Grady Dick, he showed up big time for Kansas the past couple weeks. Both of those teams, I think, will be fine. I didn't expect us to play as well as we did against Kansas, to the point that it was a winnable game. Interesting offensive foul calls, but you know what? I'm not going to harp on it. Kyle Filipowski looks way better than expected after everything y'all were talking about. Y'all were talking crazy about Flip in the offseason. He looks like he's legit. Texas also has been very, very dangerous early on this season, so we'll see how that goes for UT. On the women's side of the ball, #1 versus #2 at Stanford. Stanford versus South Carolina. Of course, some of the best players in women's college basketball. Of course, you've got the reigning player of the year, Leah Boston. You got Bria Bill. You got Zia Cook for Scar. For Stanford, you got Haley Jones. You got Cam Brink. It was a matchup of Titans. Vanderveer. Of course, the great Dawn Staley. I mean, it was just, it's a hell of a matchup. I had to watch it. South Carolina wins in overtime, 76-71, purely because Cam Brink fouled out. Cam Brink might be, I mean, is one of the best players in the nation. She was the best player on the floor. With all due respect to Leah Boston, who still finished with 14 and 13, Cam Brink was the best player on the floor. Best player offensively, and she was the best player defensively. She was the best player on the floor. If she can prevent herself from fouling out, then there is no, she might win National Player of the Year. Because she is that good in terms of talent. Brink was fantastic. 25-5 with 4 blocks. Boston, like I said, ended up with 14 and 13. But ultimately, I think it was the defense for South Carolina that won them this game. It was the defense. It wasn't that they were better offensively. It wasn't anything. It was simply put, it wasn't even that they had the best player on the court. Like I said, they simply played harder defense, and I give credit to Dawn Staley for this win. Bria Bill, by the way, played fantastic defense on Haley Jones, made her shoot 5 for 19. Haley struggled. struggled greatly yesterday shooting the ball. And a lot of it due to Bill's defense, and a lot of it to South Carolina's overall defense. They made it a very physical game, and ultimately that gave them just enough to get the win and retain their number one spot. I wouldn't be shocked if we see these two teams match up in March and April in some very, very high-level important games because, yeah, they just were that good. But, yeah, shout out to Scar for getting it done. And to conclude this college basketball segment, Ozzy Fudd, man. If only Paige was healthy. But anyways, former number one overall recruit in her class, Miss Fudd, dropped yet another, well, yeah, she's averaging 29 this year. She dropped 26 the first game, then dropped 30 versus Texas to get the, I guess it's technically an upset, as UConn was lower ranked. But anyways, Fudd has been fantastic. She drops a 30 ball. She's looking like one of the better scorers, one of the best shooters in college basketball, which is what she was supposed to be coming out of high school, number one overall recruit, like I said. She's been great. She's been great. We'll see if she can keep it going. But, yeah, interesting week in college basketball. Now let's head over to entertainment. Chainsaw Man. Of course, we found out that the devil that has trapped them on the 8th floor is the Eternity Devil. And, yeah, I don't know how they're going to get out of this one. So, they were also trying to figure that out and spent most of the episode trying to figure that out. Ultimately, the Eternity was like, I just need Denji, I just need to eat him, I need to get revenge, I need to eat the chainsaw. So, yeah, they went back and forth with that. The Panics, like Arai, wanted to kill Denji. Aki just wanted to keep him alive. And we saw some more of the characterization of Aki, and he's continuing to become one of the more interesting characters, I think, in the show to me. He even sacrificed himself for Denji. But ultimately, Denji decides to go along with it to, last-ditch effort to get them out of the trap. However, he's going to activate his chainsaw, and maybe he can break through Eternity. That was a great ending shot, by the way, but we will see. We will see. We also learned about Aki and his sword, so it seems like he's almost got, like, 2 kind of contracts. So, again, we continue to learn more and more about these characters as they get more and more fleshed out as the series goes on. But, yeah, Chainsaw Man, another good episode. I say it every week. It goes. Music, Roddy Ricch. Roddy Ricch. I said, yeah, Roddy Ricch. Fuck, why not? Feed the Streets 3. It was a legacy album, legacy mixtape for Roddy, alright? It was going to determine, is he going to go the baby route, or is, Roddy still going up, alright? Was he going to beat the washed allegations? I am coming to you today, ladies and gentlemen. Roddy Ricch defeated the washed allegations. I'm going to give this album an 8.1. Why not? 8.1. It was a good album. It wasn't like best of the year. It wasn't like mid. It was good. So I'll give it an 8.1 because I enjoyed it and I think it's going to grow on me a little bit more. So I'll give it an 8.1. For Feed the Streets 3, Stop Breathing, one of my standouts. But yeah, Roddy beat the washed allegations. Shout out to the boy. Happy for him to kind of be back on track. It seemed like, it had that same energy that it felt like we were missing. Not quite antisocial level, but still very good. Roddy beats the allegations. Key Glock dropped Pre-5L, but I have not been able to listen to it. Even though it's an EP, very short, something quick, something nice. Heard it was solid. Key Glock never really misses, so y'all can let me know if you listen to that and let me know how that was in the comments. Don Toliver, Do It Right. Dropped a single. A lot of people having a mixed reaction to this. I was rocking with it. It wasn't my favorite Don, but you know what? I was rocking with it. It was good enough. Looks like he's, preparing the next album. So, we'll see. We'll see what Don Toliver has me chefed up. I'm sure he's also on Utopia with Trav. So, yeah. We'll see what happens. But Do It Right, solid track. Same thing with Down in Atlanta with Pharrell and Trav. Speaking of Travis. Pharrell. Another great Pharrell beat. Travis was great on this. I actually like this more than Do It Right. So, yeah, solid track. Pharrell and Trav, and of course very excited for Utopia whenever that comes. But that was entertainment. Let's talk about it. It's World Cup season, alright? It's World Cup season. Not too much to talk about actually in terms of like games, because only 2 games have been played at the time I'm filming this. But just kind of getting this subject matter, getting this category ready and prepped for you guys, because we still have some stuff to talk about. Ecuador, Qatar in the opening game. Qatar becomes the first host nation, by the way, to ever lose their first game. Incredible statistic, but Qatar, congratulations on making some more notorious history here at your own World Cup. Ecuador gets the win 2-0. They made Eder Valencia look like prime Cristiano Ronaldo in this game because, my gosh, he should have had a hat trick. I mean, this game was not close at all. Qatar easily outmatched, goalkeeper, disaster class. Ecuador looked good. That's pretty much it. That's the gist. Qatar did not look good at all. Let's be honest, they have not looked really good at all this entire World Cup in terms of the press and just kind of everything. The banning of beer, the interesting, it's a little bit of a mess, but I'm just happy the World Cup is back. England, because I can say it now, unless they scored again, which is fully possible against Iran with the way they were playing, they beat Iran 5-1, like literally 20 minutes ago. So yeah, England looked very good. Saka had a brace. Marcus Rashford came on, immediately scored. England looked good. Again, they were playing Iran, so relax. But yeah, I think they're easily going to top Group B. I think this USA-Wales game is massive. I think this is massive. I think whoever wins this game between USA and Wales is going to advance in the group with England. So I think this is in match day 1 for both of these teams. I think this is a must-win game. Not a draw, definitely not a loss. This is a must-win game for both Wales and the U.S. if they want to advance into the knockout stages, because I just don't see anybody beating England. Iran, you can probably beat, but you got to get the result against each other. So, yeah, massive, massive game between Wales and America coming up. And you'll probably know who won that game by the time this is up. Now, unfortunately, France, the defending champions, are cursed like every other World Cup defending champion. And everybody's getting hurt. Nkunku got hurt, then Benzema got hurt. Now I heard reports about Camavinga being hurt. Mbappe might have to carry this team by himself because it's I don't know who said France was OP and needed to be descaled, but it's happened. No Conte, no Pogba, no Benz, no Nkunku. I don't know what they're going to do. Alright, they still got talent, they're still a good team, but they're clearly not favorites, maybe the way they were in 2018, so we'll see what they do. But yeah, this potentially could be a massive deal, especially for Kylian Mbappe, if he shows out and somehow is able to be that offensive force, which he's fully capable of doing for France, and is able to make something shake even without the talent they are missing. I think that would go a big and long, long way with his legacy if he can make a deep run with them and with this French team. So, yeah, we'll see. World Cup's back. One of the most wonderful times of the year. All right, let's talk about some football. The Green Bay Packers. After 1 week of me them making me reconsider, are the Packers really this bad? They just beat the Cowboys. But they always beat the Cowboys. And apparently, they always beat the Cowboys. That's it. They always beat us. That's it. Because the Tennessee Titans went down to Lambeau and put that thing on them. 27-17. Or was this in Tennessee, actually? No, it was in Lambeau. Yeah. Green Bay lost 27-17. Derrick Henry had 87 and a touchdown. Treylon Burks, by the way, one of the best games I've seen him play in his rookie year. 7 receptions, 111 for Treylon, so shout out to him. A-Rod wasn't particularly bad in this game. Wasn't his most efficient, but still had 227 and 2 touchdowns. Christian Watson now leads all rookie receivers in receiving touchdowns, and he's only scored the past 2 weeks. Insane statistic, but yeah, shout out to Watson, another 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. The Titans get it done, 27-17. Green Bay is just not that good. They're just not that good. The Bears and the Falcons. Despite Justin Fields' best efforts for the 3rd consecutive week, another great game from him. 14 for 21, over 200 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Despite Jay Fields' best efforts, the Chicago Bears once again snatched defeat from the jaws of victory as they lose to the Falcons on the road 27-24. Younghoe Koo with the 53-yarder with 147 to go ahead, and then Chicago just couldn't take advantage at the end there. Mariota, 131 and a touchdown. I think he also did some work on the ground as well. Yeah, had a rushing touchdown there. 4 sacks of Justin Fields in this game for Chicago. Evans with 11 tackles. And of course, again, Fields, very good. Looking like he's turned the corner. but they just just continue to find new ways. One of those teams that just finds ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Classic Chicago Bears in the modern era. And the Falcons get the win. The Bills take out the Browns in a game that got moved to Detroit because Buffalo currently had 6'5", possibly more inches of snow. 77 inches. It was lunacy. Alright, it was lunacy. Shout out to Bills Mafia for even getting them able to travel. I saw some of y'all helping shovel the snow. Y'all are some of the realest fans in the sport. But since Buffalo was currently in a blizzard, they had to go to Detroit for this game. Didn't matter. Buffalo still showed out. Fans and players, they get the win 31-23. Josh Allen was a little bit better this week. 18 for 27, 197 and a touchdown. Singletary also got in the box. Jacoby Brissett actually had a hat trick, played great in this game, 324 and 3 touchdowns. But ultimately, the Bills were able to get it done. Dug the way out, showed up when it mattered. Of course, game wasn't as close maybe as that 31-23 would make you think, with them kind of getting that touchdown late. But nonetheless, Buffalo able to get it done. Shout out to Tyler Bass as well. He had a solid game kicking. But Buffalo gets it done. The Eagles take out the Colts 17-16 and get back on track. Jalen Hurts ices the game late with 120 remaining with the rushing touchdown. He got back on track as well this week, 190 passing, 86 running, 2 touchdowns total for Jalen Hurts. And the Colts simply regressing back to the mean. Got simmering. I'm not even going to call it hot. They got a little bit simmering. The pot started getting a little warm, but you know what? It's cooled back down. Though JT is playing better, even though a lot of people labeled him all-time fantasy bust after he was considered 1-1 going into the year and hasn't really showed up. Hey, 84 yards and a touchdown this week. Not too bad. But Jalen Hurts, masterclass. Eagles get it done late in a very, very close game. In the NFL's version of the Sickos game of the week, the Pats, listen, no matter how good the New York Jets are, no matter how good they are, no matter how talented they are, no matter how young and hungry they are, they will somehow, some way find a way to lose to the New England Patriots. And this week, it was in the most dramatic way possible, with the very first punt return for a touchdown this year. Marcus Jones goes 84 yards to put the game away with 5 seconds to go to beat the New York Jets. How do you lose on a punt return? A walk-off punt. How do you lose a game on a walk-off punt return? I don't know how the Jets do it. I really don't. It's incredible, the commitment to always losing to New England Patriots. They could have an all-star, Pro Bowl roster, and I would still believe that they are going to somehow lose to the Patriots. They just can't do it. They're kryptonite. Literally, they're kryptonite. Pats tie up them, by the way, in record, 6-4, quietly, have sneaked out some absolutely filthy, disgusting, revolting wins. But you know what? They get it done. Zach Wilson, disaster class. Shout out to Marcus Jones. He was the only M. Jones that showed up for New England. But they get it done. Pats find a way to beat the Jets again. Saints, Rams. I think Stafford got concussed in this game. Again, not very interesting. Not a very interesting game, if I'm being completely honest. Saints got the win 27. Unless you were, one of the two teams involved, then maybe it was bad. But, it wasn't like a bad game, right? It wasn't like a sicko game like the Jets and the Pats. But still, two teams that are kind of in the ditch, and we're just trying to see if they're going to dig themselves out. It doesn't look like the Rams are going to dig themselves out. They got to have one of the worst turnarounds from a Super Bowl winning team. This isn't a hangover. This is a full-on sickness. They fall to 3-7 after losing to the Saints. The Red Rifle looked like the Red Rifle once again. Maybe even TCU Andy Dalton made an appearance. 21 for 25, 260 and 3 touchdowns for Dalton. Chris Olave, 5 receptions, 102 and a touchdown. Tutu Atwell had 1 catch, but he made it count, and he got 62 yards. So for some reason, you started Tutu Atwell. There you go. Stafford wasn't bad before he got injured. But, like I said, not the most thrilling of games. But you know what? A solid game. Dalton Olave showed out for the Saints. They get the win. The Lions take out the Giants, who are looking like frauds. Very fraudulent. The behavior is looking very, very fraudulent currently in New York. Because this wasn't close. This game was not close. Jamal Williams continues to be the greatest touchdown vulture of all time. So much to the point that I picked him up on my fantasy team over DeAndre Swift. Over Swift. I could have had Swift, but I was like, you know what? Jamal Williams is the one that gets the touchdowns. So I will take my 24 points to the bank, even though he only had a mere 64 yards, 3.8 yards rushing. But guess what? Hat trick of touchdowns, and they were all big because the Giants just, oof. Maybe it was an off week. I don't know what it was. Daniel Jones looked like the Daniel Jones that we know. Saquon never really got going. Only 22 yards in this game for him. It was a rough game. It was a rough game for y'all. Lions demolished Giants, which this season sounds crazy, but you know what? I don't know what to say, G-Man. Again, maybe it was off week, but it wasn't pretty, all right? Baltimore takes out Carolina 13-3 in another game that could qualify as the sicko game of the week. I don't even know how much I really want to talk about this. Neither Lamar nor Baker Mayfield were great in this game. They had 3 interceptions total and 0 touchdowns. So Lamar did have a rushing touchdown in the 4th. So I guess expand upon the lead, but it wasn't a great game. Ravens win, yada yada yada. The Commanders take out the Texans 23-10. Taylor Heineke, dude, he's the starting quarterback. All right, Carson Wentz is a legendary quarterback. Okay, he is an absolute legend at getting benched. All right, he is the best quarterback in the league at getting benched. He is a generational transition quarterback. He's a generational transitional quarterback. He is the transitional quarterback for the transitional quarterback. It is quite impressive how Carson Wentz, no matter where he goes, no matter where New Jersey is, no matter what team he reps, he always gets benched. He always gets benched. Honestly, one of the best jobs in the NFL has to be Carson Wentz's backup. Because you know that you're going to be the starter at some point in the season. Either because he's going to get hurt or you're going to just take his spot. It's one of the two. It's impeccable how Carson Wentz continues to be a model of consistency throughout his entire career. The number 2 overall pick way back when, coming out of North Dakota State. And he has been generational. A generational transitional quarterback, as he has been the transition for Tyler Heineke to retake the job. 23-10, the Commanders take out the Texans. Again, the NFC beast continues to rear its head. The Texans continue to tank. Congratulations on C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Probably right now should be Bryce Young, but we'll see as the season develops. Even though you're probably more missing out because I think Dre May and Caleb Williams might end up being better than both of them. But we'll see. The Raiders take out the Denver Broncos. All right. Devontae Adams walks us off in overtime on the 35-yarder from Derek Carr. Listen, Carr had one of his better games of the year. So shout out to D, because 307 and 2 touchdowns, he looked a lot better. Josh Jacobs with 109. Devontae Adams has been, honestly, one of the bright spots for this Raiders team. 7 receptions, 141 and 2 touchdowns. It was the most complete game I've seen the Raiders play all season. And it's not even really up for debate. It was the easily the most complete game we have seen from them all year. They have been a mess pretty much the entire season. They finally look competent in this game, and they take out the Broncos, who are pitiful. Pitiful. Can't even put this one on the defense. The offense just didn't show up. They didn't show up to this game. Should have been an easily winnable game against Vegas, who have been awful this year. We're 2-7 going into this game, but they lost in overtime thanks to one of the best performances of the season of the Raiders. And again, the Broncos just continuing to be the most disappointing team in the NFL, in my opinion, this season, especially with all the hype that everybody was showering them with going in. The Dallas Cowboys, I don't understand this team. I do not. Not that I really care to understand them. If we're winning 40-3 over the team that everybody was crowning the best team in the league. On the road, we won 40-3. And it really wasn't that close, to be honest. Brett Maher masterclass. Hit a 60-yarder, hit a 50-yarder, went 4 for 4 from extra points. He was dropping 4 for 4 like he was Wendy's. Brett Maher, Beautiful. Mwah. Splendid game. Tony Pollard, by the way, 6 receptions, 109 and 2 touchdowns. To go along with. Actually, let me just say it. 189 yards total, 2 touchdowns, both of them were receiving. 6 receptions for Pollard. He was fantastic. Zeke had 2 touchdowns rushing. I think, honestly, that's the best split. Use Pollard, even though Zeke can catch, but use Pollard for his explosiveness in space. Zeke can get some of that, even though that makes him the highest paid goal line back in the league. But you know what? In the red zone is where he shines, I think, currently in his state. Dak Prescott. I said Dak just needed to warm up, and y'all should have listened to me, because you know Chris is always right. 22 for 25, 276, and 2 touchdowns. I know my boy. What can I say? I know my boy. He came out firing all cylinders against one of the best teams in the league. Vikings. I shouldn't put quotation marks. The Vikings are one of the best teams, and they're 8-2. They still got a better record than us. But they got murked in this game, all right? And they took back all the chains they've been putting on Kirko because, disaster class. Disaster class. There's not a single positive thing I can say about the Vikings in this game, and that's not because I'm hating. There just wasn't anything positive. However, how about them Cowboys? Bengals take out the Steelers 37-30. The Bengals. You know what? The all-whites look clean. It looked like it was danger at some points in this game. But you know what? At the end of the day, you got Joe Burrow and Joey B, the king of the North. Showed back up. It's been a long time coming. He's been an absentee king. But you know what? He returned for this game. On the road, Joe Burrow shows up. 355, 4 touchdowns. Now, he did have 2 picks. But forget that. 355 and 4 touchdowns. You'll live with that. T. Higgins with 9 receptions, 148. Samaje Perine had 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 receiving touchdowns. Samaje Perine, I know. 3 receiving touchdowns for Perine. So if for some reason you started him in your 15-team league, congratulations on the win. Kenny Pickett wasn't bad in this game, 25 for 42, 65, and a touchdown. Najee Harris finally shows up, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Pickens, before he got thrown out, was doing well, was playing well too. But, even with TJ Watt having a solid game, got that incredible interception on Burrow, it just wasn't enough. It just was not to be. Najee Harris got the touchdown late in garbage time to make the score look a little bit better than it was. The Bengals, Burrow, looked good. Even without Chase, looked good. King of the North might be back. The Chiefs take out the Chargers, which I think reaffirms them as now the new top of the head of the table in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, MVP. 329, 3 touchdowns for him. Pacheco at 170. Travis Kelce continues to rise amongst the ranks of the greatest tight ends to ever walk this earth. 6 receptions, 115, and a hat trick for Trav. Herbert wasn't bad, 280, 2 touchdowns. Josh Palmer played great, by the way, 8 receptions, 106, and a touchdown. Even Austin Eckler did their thing, but that defense could not stop the Chiefs' offense, who have not missed a beat. Even though Cheetah is in a very good place and he's been arguably the best receiver, you could argue, in the league this year, Chiefs have been fine. They've been perfectly fine. Mahomes is still Mahomes. Kelce is still Kelce. No fall off there. And, the Chiefs still dominant, looking like the best team in the league. They take out the Chargers, who they have owned over the past couple seasons. And, that was the week in the NFL. Not the most exciting week. But you know what? Still had some interesting things happen. Some teams made some statements, had some statement wins. So not too bad in the NFL. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the Roundup. F1 concluded their season this past week, of course, in Abu Dhabi, should I say. And Max won again. It's not really a surprise. Okay, F1 is a sport where, however many people show up on the grid, and Max wins. 15 wins, that's going to be very hard, but you know what? Maybe he breaks it next year. I don't know. But Max wins in Dubai. And the more interesting news, Charles Leclerc was able to get that second because Ferrari actually had a solid strategy. And Charles gets his second place, so he finishes runner-up, just edges out Checo, who got third. So the podium was the championship standings in the final race. However, emotional weekend, last race for Sebastian Vettel, the legend, four-time world champion, 4 times in a row. Was basically Max before Max in a lot of ways. Not really saying in terms of style, but in terms of kind of his dominance at such a young age. But yeah, Vettel, one of the best drivers of all time, one of the best of his generation, easily. Signed off this weekend, so yeah, DANKE SEB. Mick Schumacher gets shafted out of the Haas shot. It goes to Hulk. We'll see how that goes. Looks like Mick might be headed to Merck as kind of like the reserve. So yeah, that should be interesting. Maybe he gets groomed as the guy after Lewis decides to retire in 12 years. Danny Ricciardo also out of a job. His last race with McLaren just didn't work out. Latifi. Also, his last race, I think, with Williams. Albon killed him this year, and Latifi was pretty much the worst driver on the grid. But you know what? I'm not going to rag on him. It's always sad to see somebody have their last race in F1. But yeah, we'll see what happens next for those guys. But Max wins the championship, wins Dubai. Charles gets second. Checo gets third. It was a fun season. It was my first real season, kind of really into F1. So yeah, excited to see the new grid. With the new fresh talent, Logan Sargent, Piastri, and just kind of seeing what goes on next year. Should be interesting. Hopefully Ferrari and Merck can make it competitive with Red Bull next year, because I would love to see it very competitive. Especially, I would love if McLaren with Lando and Oscar can get going. I would love if we had 4 different teams that could possibly, that would be amazing. And I also think that would be great for the sport, because all those guys are pretty young. And of course, even Lewis is a legend in the sport, so yeah, I think that'd be really fun. So maybe, but we'll see. Red Bull was kind of unstoppable this year. And to end off, somebody else that's been unstoppable this year is Steph Curry. Again, one of the greatest point guards to ever live is once again doing greatest point guard to ever live things. Scott in, and yeah, the Splash Bros came back. I think Clay dropped 41 against the Rockets yesterday. But yeah, Steph Curry looking like potential MVP candidacy this year. He's been dominant. Victor Wembanyama, also outside of the NBA, continues to dominate. #1 pick next year. Not that that's really up for debate. But yeah, that's it for episode 120. Hope you guys enjoyed. But without ado, World Cup is here. But for now, Ocho, signing off.